For 34 years, Channel 2 anchorman Dave Shay has been the friend you've turned to for news in eastern Iowa. Tonight, as he leaves the airwaves, News Channel 2 presents this live tribute to one of Iowa's most trusted and distinguished newsmen, Dave Shay. Now, here's Amy Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Johnson, live from Elm Crest Country Club in Cedar Rapids. We want to welcome you tonight to a very special and a very happy occasion. We're celebrating the retirement of our own Dave Shay after more than 34 years of service to News Channel 2. You know, it was just a few weeks ago that Dave anchored his last broadcast on News Channel 2, and since then, he's received so many honors. He's been inducted, for one, into the WMT Radio Hall of Fame. But we wanted to culminate those honors tonight with something that was really, truly special. We wanted to invite Dave's friends, family, colleagues, dignitaries from around the state here to pay a tribute to Dave. And we've also invited Dave here because we want to find out what he's going to do with all of his newfound free time. First tonight, I want to introduce Iowa traveler Carrie J. Hahn with a look back at a very distinguished broadcasting career.
Is planned for tomorrow. For
many, it seems Dave Shay has always been on Channel 2. But the young Dave Shay actually began work here March 9th, 1959. You remember 1959, don't you? Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. Cuba's Fidel Castro had just come to power, overthrowing the Batista government. On American radio, teenagers made Frankie Avalon #1 with... And on Eastern Iowa television, viewers began seeing a black and white Dave Shay, hired by WMT station manager William Quarton to anchor the 10:30 p.m. Report to Iowa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Shay, and this is Channel 2's Report to Iowa.
Dave joined Tate Cummins on sports and Conrad Johnson with the weather. But let's go back further. Dave grew up in Joyce, Iowa, just northwest of Mason City. While in high school, Dave was enthralled by World War II reports on the radio.
This is London. Just straight away in front of me, the searchlights are working. I can see one or two bursts of anti-aircraft fire far in the distance.
He was further bit by the broadcast bug and did his first broadcast on the St. Olaf College radio station KCAL. He graduated in 1950 from St. Olaf and for 2 years did radio announcing work in Minneapolis. In 1952, he married Marge, and work took them to New Mexico and then on to Omaha to do both radio and TV news. WMT television was only 6 years old when Dave arrived here from WOW Omaha.
She was not booked, but she was held overnight here in the Cedar Rapids City Jail. Marlene was questioned by the Juvenile Bureau the next day and released as an incorrigible.
His career pretty much paralleled the growth of television, from black and white to color, from film to videotape, the switch from film to electronic news gathering, from a one-man news writing staff to growing news teams. But while technology changed, Dave Shay became an always dependable source for news for Eastern Iowa. If Dave Shay said it, you could believe it.
That's a weather story. For more news, Dave Shay.
56-year-old Eloise.
Whether from special reports to election night coverage, from visits by presidents or that hometown news story, Dave Shay delivered the news in a steady, dependable fashion for what would turn out to be
34 years, 9 months, and 14 days.
Along the way, Dave won numerous awards and was recognized by viewers and his peers as a steady force in a changing and often seemingly unsteady world. Younger broadcasters, if they paid attention, could learn from Dave. One was Richard Threlkeld, now with CBS News.
Hi, Dave. This is Richard Threlkeld at CBS News in New York, as you can see. I just have 3 words for you. You can't retire, because that means it's about time for me to retire, too, and I can't afford it. This opportunity brought back so many nice memories to me of just a few years ago, it seems, of Cole McMartin and Grant Price and Roger Dennett and Tate Cummins and Conrad Johnson and Bob Bruner and so many nice people, so many nice years. I'm just grateful for you for taking a young reporter right out of journalism school and teaching him a little bit about how to be a TV news reporter a long time ago, and and how to be an anchorman. Of course, the difference is you were an anchorman all those many years. You owned that chair, and I'm just borrowing this chair for a minute from Dan Rather, so I hope you won't tell him. And I think the people of eastern Iowa and Cedar Rapids certainly owe you and Marge a great debt of gratitude. Both of you in your own separate ways have done so much to make what used to be called the WMT area a better place to live. I'm put in mind of the old poem about the wonderful one-horse Shay that lasted 100 years to the day. Well, by my reckoning, that Shay has several decades yet, you and Marge, of fruitful and happy years. I know they will be, and I know you'll make a great deal of them. So good luck to both of you, and God bless.
You know, Dave has gained so many friends and admirers over the years, and we're very lucky tonight to have many of them with us. One of them is Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, and we're very glad you're here tonight. Welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I don't know where to begin, but I guess briefly, you've been friends with Dave a very long time, and what are some of your memories on this occasion?
Well, I've probably been acquainted with him since the 61 session of the Iowa legislature, where I was serving my second term, and I think he was in his second year here by that time. I think the memories are mostly of always being treated fairly and in a very professional manner. And he seemed to have the ability to bring into all of the discussions, even the short answers he wanted, the short questions, the human element into it. It wasn't just always fact and short answer, but he was very human as he approached the news.
And you told me that Dave actually came once to your farm and trailed you around with a camera, correct?
Since I've been in the Senate, he came up. He wanted to come up and do it. He brought the camera people with him, and we had my wife had breakfast for him, and we then he spent a considerable amount of time with me working on the farm.
Any words you want to direct personally and directly to Dave right now?
Well, yes, people like me wish that he weren't retiring, but he's entitled to retirement, and I want him to enjoy it. But let's put it this way, he's been a part of the Grassley family as we watch the news for a long period of time, and we're going to miss him.
Well, we're so glad you came tonight. Thanks so much for helping us honor Dave.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, coming up, something rare that most viewers have never seen. We're going to take a look at Dave without a tie, if you can imagine that. Stay with us for some very personal thoughts from Dave himself as we continue our tribute to Dave Shay.
Well, Dave Shay has seen it all, and he's experienced it all in his career in journalism. Now we want you to sit back and relax and enjoy this as Carrie J. Hahn has a conversation with Dave Shay.
Well, Dave, the first thing I want to say is you told me not to wear a tie today because you said you weren't.
I don't wear them at all anymore, or suits.
Only for special occasions?
That's right. But my weekday garb is like this, and it feels good to dress casually.
All right. Lord knows that you've worn a tie almost every day of your life for 34 years.
Yep. 5 days a week, and on Sunday as well, and I can't say that I miss down to 1 day a week now.
All right. Well, so far, your first few days of retirement going well?
Yes, I thoroughly enjoy going to bed at night and noticing I don't set the alarm, and getting up in the morning and knowing I usually don't have to be someplace at a certain time. I miss the people at work, and I miss the people that I would contact in the process of doing the news. But I haven't missed appearing on television. Not yet, anyway.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. So from Joyce, you went to college?
Went to college at St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota, and that's where I started in broadcasting. One day early in my sophomore year, was pushed by a friend to go over and audition at the radio station, and I did, and was taken into a class for a couple of weeks and then put on the air, and that's the way it started. And it kind of was gradual. I didn't necessarily intend to make a career out of broadcasting even then. But
what had you thought you might do?
I thought I was going to be a teacher. And after college, I did go to graduate school with that in mind. But Due to a number of reasons, I frankly liked broadcasting better than I liked academia. And frankly, I haven't regretted it.
How did you get that first job?
Well, I told you about the job in college. And then when I went on to graduate school, I walked over to KSTP in Minneapolis one day and asked if they needed any help as an announcer. That was what we're all called. Everybody was an announcer in those days. There was no anchorman, had not even been invented. But I worked at 2 stations then in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Then I decided we were expecting a family by this time, and I had decided on broadcasting. So I sent around some tapes, and one place that gave me a good response was KOB in Albuquerque. And that was a long ways away, and boy, that sounded interesting. And
this was radio?
This was radio, and with the understanding there'd be a little television, and there was. That's about the way it worked out. But it was mostly radio then. Then I went to Omaha, and that started in radio, but ended up doing more television. And though newscasts were generally written by the news department then, a newscaster there named Ray Clark, who was their primetime evening newscaster, did a lot of writing himself. And I got into filling in for him. And I like to write. I always like to write. So since he wrote, I wrote, and I got a lot of practice writing newscasts then. And I did weekends, and I substituted for him. But I wanted to get a primetime newscast myself, and that's how I happened to come here to WMT.
And you interviewed with the man himself, Bill Quarton.
Bill Quarton, Lou Van Ostrand, Chuck Wister, Doug Grant. And that's a pretty good group.
Well, in fact, all of them are now in the WMT Radio Hall of Fame, of which you were inducted into last month.
Yeah, it's a pretty good company.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Do you remember getting any marching orders? We're going to hire you, and this is what we expect of you?
Not really. Seems to me Bill Quarton, or maybe it was Lou, said, well, do the best you can. Young fella, maybe they said, as I was at the time.
Well, your career has sort of paralleled the growth of television, starting out as black and white, using still photographs, and going to film, and then videotape, and then today satellites, and who knows what's down the line.
Yes, the technological changes have, I don't know how to describe how many there have been and how revolutionary they have been. But it seems to me that there's been a whole changeover about every decade. It's just altogether different. Nobody envisioned, I don't think, back in the 50s when I got started, that it would be like it is today.
As you've gotten older and more mature, have the younger people kept you younger as they have come in and out of the newsroom?
I hope so. Sometimes they've made me older. It works both ways. I think, I hope I've made them a little older. The news business, as you know, it's rush, rush, rush. That deadline is coming and there's no holding it off. So very often you don't have the time to do the mentoring that you should. And if there's any mentoring at all, it's quick, don't do it this way, do it that way. And I was told that when I was starting out. And frankly, I did it unquestioningly pretty much. I might come back after a while and ask, why did you say I do that? And usually the people who would give me advice would tell me why, and I'd understand why. So I've said some things like that. Some has stuck, some hasn't.
I know you've been asked this question before, but for this audience who may have not heard the answer before, what would you like to be remembered for with your stint at Channel 2?
I would like to be remembered as being steady and reliable, one who worked to do the best he could. Nobody in this business or any business has avoided mistakes. There are some things I would like to go back and do over again. I did the best I could, I think, under the circumstances. I hope and I believe I was responsible.
And that's an important trust that we have with the people, the viewers.
People do understand that, and they do appreciate that. I have gotten a pile of letters and cards, literally that high, I think, from people, many of whom I have never met, who have said that they appreciate, some will say, in different ways. Some will say they appreciate at least my effort to be objective and steady and reliable. I tell you that there is no higher praise than that, and I really appreciate it.
What does Dave Shay like to do at home, now that you have all this free time?
When I'm home, I like to read. I read a lot. I spend some time at my computer, and I'm trying to learn my way around the internet and CompuServe and America Online. I've toyed with the idea of going back to school. I like that. That's kind of an interesting idea to me at the moment. I may or may not do it. Question is, what should I take, something like politics or history that I've been buried in, or should I go in for something like
completely different
chemistry?
You do plan to stay here in Cedar Rapids?
Yes, it's home, and we wouldn't plan to move any other place.
I know too that you've referred to this as both you, Marge, and you are both retiring, so this is a joint venture.
Yes, yes, it is that. It won't be as much of a change in her routine as it is for me, because she's worked in the home for the most part all these years. Means she's got another person underfoot, and I may test her tolerance as time goes by. We'll see. But so far we're speaking anyway.
Well, let me be the last to wish you good luck in your retirement.
Thank you.
Although I think there'll be a few more.
Could be.
But news is a very serious business, usually anyway. But after 34 years of broadcasting, even Dave Shay has made one or maybe two mistakes, but not many.
Strange, the Oakdale prison facility. And in farm news, a Grinnell company is swallowing up the water trough business. Those stories and more are next on 2 Action News.
When we come back, we'll have a few more of Dave's on-air bloopers and a very special surprise guest. Don't go away. Well, Amy, they say to err is human, but guess what? Even Dave Shay made some bloopers on the air. Oh, yes.
No,
yes,
not
he did.
many. He couldn't have. But we want to show you some of the bloopers that at least made us laugh over the years.
Now, from the Eastern Iowa news team that knows what matters, this is the Channel 2 News at 10 with Chuck Shalene, Lori Stevens, Pete Cypher Sports, and weather with meteorologist Dave Town.
Well, I think it's 6 o'clock, and you're Maggie and I'm Dave, but...
I think you're right.
Yeah, whatever. Those other folks will come up at 10 tonight.
I don't mind the snow this early, but I enjoy snow.
Yeah, it means it's going to be rough coming up, though.
Yeah, it won't help my cold much. I'm heavily sedated today, so if I sound a little goofy, that's why.
We haven't noticed any.
That's what I was going to say. Kristen probably won't notice any difference.
Saying same old Wade today, but...
Well, let's try and get through the markets for today.
Memorable. Now let's go back to Don Keith. You can take a look at the morning.
Yes, Dave, it looks pretty good.
That's our news for now.
We'll be back at Iowa tonight at 10. Join us then. You do that. Okay, thank you, Dave. That's Iowa Tonight. A radio station held a contest on the theme, What Would You Do for 2 Van Halen tickets? One contestant ate several baby spiders and washed them down with whiskey, and he wasn't even the winner. Sorry, Meg.
You know, you should have been a basketball coach. That's not to say you aren't good in news, but I can just see you. You look like a real coaching...
You can't get off that hook that easily. You've said enough. All right.
If this rope tow is not operating, nobody can ski here. And it's for sure that on days like this, if that warming house is not open, nobody will ski here very long. This is Dave Shay, 2 Action News at Squaw Creek Bark in Lynn County.
Well, it's one of those nights. We hope to have that report later, one way or the other.
Hey, what do you think of this trip, huh? Are you having a good time? Is it warm today, huh?
And for more about what's coming up at 10, let's go to Chuck Shalene in the newsroom. Chuck?
Lori Stevens.
Hello, Lori.
Fooled you, didn't we?
That's our latest from our weather lab tonight, Maggie.
I'm Dave. Dave?
The company says most of the decline reflects a drop in the failures of agricultural and retail businesses.
Memorable.
Those are pretty good.
Absolutely. Everybody's chuckling here, and we are too, and there'll be some of those later on of us, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
We know for the past few days and weeks, Dave has had many kind words said to him by friends and colleagues.
Absolutely. And tonight we'd like to give a distinguished CBS newscaster the very last word on Dave.
There's an old Peanuts comic strip that shows the last leaf of autumn spiraling down from the tree, and as it passes Charlie Brown's nose, he looks at the leaf and says, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" That's the way I feel about your leaving Channel 2, Dave. Are you sure you know what you're doing? It's hard to imagine television in eastern Iowa without Dave Shay. I know how long you've been on the air. I know exactly how long, because my first broadcast on the network was in 1959, same year you went on the air in Cedar Rapids. We've both spanned part of 5 decades on television. That's one way of looking at it. And I only hope I've made as many friends along the way as you have. To all those thousands of people, you are the definition of honesty and fairness and dependability on the air, and you always will be. That must be a pretty satisfying feeling to take into retirement with you. I hope it's a happy retirement for you and Marge, and I hope it lasts just as long as your great career at Channel 2 did. Warm wishes from all your admirers at CBS News.
That's strong. Now, you had no idea about that. That's got to be touching from that man.
Yes, it really is. And I remember when he was in Cedar Rapids and dropped by the station. He was over at Collins Radio, as it was known at that time, checking a North Pole expedition. And he is a very nice guy and a very respected journalist, and I appreciate very much what he said.
Well, Dave, I want to tell you how much all of us at News Channel 2 think of you, how much we admire you and respect you, and how much we dearly miss you. And before we leave tonight, although you keep telling me that we've overdone it,
You have.
You have to give us the final word. How are you feeling and what's ahead?
I feel great. I miss you people at work, and I miss the people that I would contact in the process of doing the news, the people who are here tonight, who I would call up sometimes with tough and mean questions, and they were always polite and gracious no matter how difficult the times were. I miss that a great deal. But retirement's okay, too.
Dave, congratulations, my friend. Have a wonderful retirement, and no matter how much you miss it, I'm not leaving. You can't have my job back. Congratulations, Dave Shay.
All the best, Dave. All the best.
Thanks very much.
And
Thanks.
thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.
A tribute to Dave Shay has been a presentation of News Channel 2.